Hi, my name is Marisa and I have used the McGrath concealer for a handful of times and I have made now my opinion about it, which I would like to share with you, as well as some properties from the concealer, claims, comparisons I've made with my other concealers. I would like to show you as well footage of 2 days of application and finally share my conclusions with you. So if you are interested in this content, just keep on watching. First, I would like to thank you for checking out my video and taking time to have a look at it. If you are new to my channel, welcome. Please consider subscribing to it. As you know, it really helps and supports it, as well as being highly motivating for me. If you are wondering what kind of girlish hairdo do I have today, well, there are some days that I simply cannot have hair falling into my eyes and into my face. It seems to interact and block the communication between my brain cells, so I just have to find a way to pull the hair back. Also, no, I'm not a big rugby fan, but since I've lived 2 years in Wales, I've decided to put my support behind the Wales rugby team. So here I am. Now on to the concealer. Actually, in similar fashion to what happened with the foundation, McGrath released a complete system, concealing system, which she named, very typically as well, the Skin Fetish Sublime Perfection Concealing System, which includes the concealer, a setting powder and a brush, a synthetic one, to apply the concealer. In her site, you can find different bundles of these 3 products, and if you want to get all 3 or just combinations of 2, you will be able to get them with a little bit of saving in there if you are interested. Honestly, I already have my brush and the setting powder that I usually use in my under eye area, and I'm very reluctant to change them, so I only got the concealer, which comes in this black cardboard box with the typical gold logo and gold lettering that we saw as well in the foundation packaging. The concealer in itself comes in the typical doe packaging. This seems to be glass, produced in Italy. It has a suggested shelf life of 6 months after open, and it's retail in 5 milliliters or 0.16 ounces and 36 shades, split into light, light medium, medium, medium deep and deep shades, similar to the ones that we can find in her foundation. I've placed as well a photo of the ingredient lists on the sides if you are interested. Just take a look at it. It has alcohol, but it's in the 19th position of an ingredient list with 27 items. So it's below the average, which is better definitely than in the foundation case. Before we continue, I would like to tell you what are my goals for a concealer, because my under eye area is very dark and bluish. I need high coverage, preferably with the peach tinge to it. I need the concealer to be long lasting and preferably setting by itself without the necessity to use a powder. I also like for it not to settle in my creases and under eye wrinkles, and preferably having some moisturizing properties, because I know that around the 4 or 5 hour mark my skin sucks all the moisture from anything that I place on top of it. As you can imagine, this is quite a high demand from a unique product, and I have never been able to find a concealer that is able to comply all these requirements. There's always a compromise on one of the properties to get the others. This concealer in particular has a big list of claims that I've placed as well on the list for you to check out, but the most important ones are that it has high coverage, that is very long lasting, it moisturizes, and it also claims to have a radiant matte finish, which it's something that I really appreciate because a lot of radiance in my under eye area enhances the fine lines and the wrinkles, so I like a skin-like finish in the concealer. Taking this in consideration, I'm going to show you now the application in 2 different days. I'm very excited to try the concealer. Let's see how this shade works for me. The number 6 shade in the foundation is a little bit light. Let's see. Going to use my finger. The concealer is definitely more pigmented, has more coverage than the foundation. I think the shade 7 is a little bit too light for me. Let's see if we can make it work. It sets very quickly. I'm going to use damp sponge to see if I can spread it a little bit better. Well, it has one very good thing. It sets so quickly and so well that I feel I don't need any powder. Let's see how it works with my creases. A little bit more on the nose, here, on the side of my face, just to see how it works as a foundation. Well, I have to say, so far so good. I'm really impressed. Let's put a little bit more here. Here and here, which are my complicated areas with pigmentation that I've been treating with the lasers. It still have a way to go. I wouldn't say this concealer is full coverage, but it's definitely eye medium coverage. I feel that it has more concealing capabilities than the Armani Power Fabric. But this is just a first impression. I will have to evaluate both together for longer. The concealer has already started to settle on my fine lines here beneath my eyes. So with a clean brush, I'm going to try to buff the concealer to remove the excess from the wrinkles, because I really don't want to powder it, because I feel if I powder the under eye area, it's going to look a little bit dry. The peach undertone is very good to counteract the bluish from my under eye area, but I think this shade is a little bit too light for my particular taste. I will have to use a little bit of bronzer and blush to counteract all this light shades. Unfortunately, after around 2 hours after the application, I had to powder the under eye area because the concealer started to crease once more. But after powdered, it really went for about 7-8 hours, which was the most that I used that day, and it stayed put and it didn't move. So I can totally confirm that is long lasting, although it really looked a little bit dry by the end of the 7 hours, because as usual, my skin sucked all the moisture from it. Let me show you now the day 2 application. Hi guys, good morning. It's Sunday and I have here my coffee. I'm a little bit sleepy today. I was last night binge watching the second season of Altered Carbon. Yes, I'm a kind of nerdy like that. And I thought it would be a good day for us to test out the Pat McGrath concealer. But first, I'm going to apply a sample I have from the Pat McGrath foundation. It's in the shade number 6. The undertone is good, which they describe as a pink neutral undertone. It's good, but it's a little too light for me. This foundation is very funny. It has alcohol in it, but because of the other ingredients, it smells like an alcoholic drink we have in Portugal called aguardente. Not the strongest smell, but when you have something with aguardente already like for a long time and leaves the trace smell of it, that's what this foundation smells like. I have already tried it before, and I have to say, despite the alcohol, which means I would never consider using this foundation on a day-to-day basis, only in special occasions, but although I really like the finish of it, the coverage is too light for me. Unfortunately, I need something a little bit more powerful. And it's not because of the overall face, it's because of these areas here. But today I'm going to use it, and on the areas that I have the pigmentation, I'm going to place the concealer. So you can see how the foundation looks like on me as well. Even being lighter than my proper shade, it's really imperceptible on the skin, and I really like that. It reminds me the Armani Silk Foundation, but the Armani has more coverage. Do you guys like science fiction? I confess that the idea of the stacks on altered carbon and how that leads to the discussion of immortality is interesting for me. So this is how the foundation looks like on me. What do you think? Today I'm going to apply the concealer on top of the corrector. I'm going to use the usual Becca Under Eye Brightening Corrector, and I use the shade medium to deep, and I only apply it here where I have the most bluish area. I like to press it with my fingers. I forgot to say, I place my usual skincare in the under eye area, and exactly the same skincare that I use on the first day. I'm going to apply very light layer of the concealer, and I'm going to spread it with a brush. This is probably the lightest layer of concealer that I've placed. It's not enough to cover my under eye area, but I'm going to let it set and then apply a second one to see if it works better. And I'm like really buffing the concealer on the skin to ensure that, at least in terms of application, nothing is built on my under eye wrinkles and fine lines, like this. So for now, first layer is done. I'm going to get close for you to see. So this side has the corrector and this side has the corrector and the concealer. I'm going to diminish the light a little bit to see if you can see it better. This concealer really brightens up the under eye area. I'm going to apply on the other side and then I'll show you on both sides. 10 minutes have passed since I applied the concealer on this eye, and I'm going to try to show you how it looks. On this mirror, and it's a 5 times magnification mirror, I can see that the concealer has settled on the very fine lines that I have here on this area, and I'm going to try to show them to you. I'm going to diminish the lighting. I was thinking in applying another layer of concealer to achieve its maximum coverage, but I'm not going to do it. I'm just going to pat it with a sponge and I'm going to powder it with the by Terry hyaluronic. I'm going to do it in the most light possible way. This is the cap. I'm going to put just my finger on the area that has the least amount. So the concealer is set, and at the moment I don't see nothing is showing up the wrinkles or the fine lines. I'm going to do the same on this side. 5 hours have passed since I applied the concealer and set it with powder, and I would like to show you how it looks. It's still here, but it's starting to break. The skin is looking a little bit more dry, a little bit like old parchment, especially here where it has the depression, and beneath the bottom eyelashes I have like 2 creases, and here it has settled a little bit on the creases despite having set with powder. Probably needed a little bit more, or because of the mobility in this area, it's not possible to stay smooth and without breaking. I'm going to get closer. So on me, on my skin, I don't think this concealer will look good after 5 or 6 hours, simply because if I don't set it with powder, it will set immediately on the creases and wrinkles, and if I set it, then after 5-6 hours it will start to look dry and it will start to break, because my skin by then will have sucked all the moisture in it. And this is the result of the second day of wear. So what is my final opinion on this concealer? First, I was surprised. I didn't think I would like it as much as I do, considering the experience I had with the sample of the foundation. and I like it because it fits much better my needs. I always thought that the foundation was very runway appropriate, with a light to medium coverage, settling very quickly, and all that alcohol. I mean, clearly appropriate for very perfect skins. The concealer, actually, I think it can be used for all of us mere mortals that have more complicated skins. And I have placed it amongst my top 5 concealer ranking, and I will definitely use this one in my face, and I'm going to try to find the appropriate shade for the under eye area, probably on Selfridges. The reason why I like it, it's because it has a very high coverage. Probably the one that I have that will match this one is the latest Hourglass, but the Hourglass one, I find it more drying on my under eyes than this one. And I also like the formula to apply on the face, like a quick touch up on one of those days in which we don't want to go through all the makeup process. The reason why it will not replace my holy grail, which is at the moment the Armani Power Fabric Concealer, is because in me it has a very finicky application. You really have to apply it in a very thin layer and buff it very well with the brush, and then for certain to set it with a powder. And that means that I will never be able to use this concealer on a day-to-day basis without a lot of concerns and without having time for it. Yes, I would say that this will be one for a special occasion in which I want a concealer with good coverage that I will know that will stay in place and will not budge for 5 to 6 hours, and for that this one is really very good. And that's it for this video. I hope it was useful to you. If you did like it, please support this channel by giving it a thumbs up and consider subscribing to it. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope to see you soon. Bye!